Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My ex and I, both 32, were married for 10 years. In all honesty, we were both too young to marry, 18, and we'd grown up in a very religious environment that set us up to fail, because we were encouraged by our parents to court and then marry and have children, which we did. He was set up to work for his family so he could earn money, while I was expected to end all education and be a stay-at-home mom, which I mostly did. But I did seek out online school while my kids were very young. But I never worked. My ex wouldn't allow it, and my family and his discouraged it strongly. 4 years ago, at the start of 2020, my ex told me that he wanted to end our marriage and that he had fallen in love with someone else. He told me he hadn't cheated yet, but knew it was coming to that, and he wanted to be with her in the right way, which meant ending our marriage and marrying her before anything physical happened. He left me in a messed up place. No income of my own, no job experience at all, and I was totally reliant on him and his family most of all. Despite what he said, he moved in with his now wife right away, though both claimed in separate bedrooms. Our divorce was a mess. They didn't want him to owe me anything. I asked the courts to grant me alimony until I could secure stable employment, which they granted, and after several short-lived jobs, I did secure employment and alimony came to an end. But I will never make as much as him. Despite my ex disappointing his family with his actions, they continued to employ him, and they increased what he makes so he could provide comfortably for everyone, and more than comfortably even. He was ordered to pay a substantial amount of child support, even with 50-50 custody, because of the disparity between his house and mine. The money goes into providing my kids with a good quality of life. I couldn't provide it for them without the support. Though I am far more comfortable now than before, and can save a little for their futures. My ex's household full-time is his wife, her 2 children from another relationship, and their 1 child together. Our kids are there 50% of the time. Recently, my ex asked the court to relieve some of his child support burden, and he said his stepkids had some medical and dental procedures he needed the money for. The courts did not rule in his favor, and told them he had an obligation to maintain our children's quality of life. After court, he approached me to ask to relieve him temporarily. He asked for 2 months so he can pay for the things his stepkids need. I refused to let him off the hook on child support. I do believe he has stuff for his stepkids that need paying for, but our kids needed to be supported too, and I don't want to make them suffer for his choices. He and his wife went on a very personal attack about how uncharitable and greedy I am. They also called me vindictive. Am I the a-hole? It takes 2 to tango, and 2 to make children. When he laid down with OP, he should have known he was making a lifetime commitment. Why should OP's children have to suffer because he wants to provide for his stepkids? Where are their fathers to take care of them? OP's ex is responsible for her kids he created with OP, and OP is in no way responsible for her ex's stepchildren. OP is not acting vindictive. OP is acting like a mother looking out for her own 2 kids. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. The stepkids are the financial responsibility of his wife and their biological father. Let them step up. There's no way your children should suffer because their father chose to marry someone with kids. He did not allow you to work when you were married, and now he wants you to do a financial favor to him. The hypocrisy and entitlement here is outrageous. Not the a-hole. His stepkids have 2 parents responsible for their financial support. You and your ex are not those 2 people. The judge rightly denied the request. Tell him to pound sand. Not the a-hole. Where was his charity when he abandoned you with nothing and tried to leave you destitute? Where was her charity when she went after a married man? Your duty is to the quality of your kids' lives. That's what the child support is for. Do not let him off the hook. This is entirely his doing. He needs to live with the consequences of his actions and live up to his responsibilities. And why is he coming to you for money? Couldn't mom and dad bail him out yet again? My brother married Bella, a nice girl, with a snoot full of drama. She's always felt that she has problems, but they're self-created. She creates a wake of poo effluent everywhere she goes. She's been barred from family, her family, events for years. She's always got some problem she's working through, and if things are on an even keel, she'll find drama. Her drunk driving charge, car accident, and now her affair. The girl is trouble and will be trouble the rest of her life. She's a pain. She's impolite and she's manipulative. She was fired from a job for really vile, idiotic acts. She once claimed a man of color stole her purse after she left it at a restaurant. And my absolute favorite is when she thinks every single guy she comes across is hitting on her. Anyway, in this case, she went out and had an affair with some random dude a couple of weeks back. The guy turned out to be trouble and has been incessantly calling her. My brother is staying with me and my wife and kid, which is good. He's away from her and sleeping in the guest room where the kids congregate. Things are okay here, but I know things with Bella are getting off track. She's manipulating him into believing the blame is 50-50 for her affair. Seriously. And that for him to come home, he needs to accept 50% of the blame. But she'll turn around and call 5 minutes later crying and beg him to return, apologize for everything, and say that she needs him. Honestly, this isn't even the worst of her deeds. She drank booze at a barbecue, got behind the wheel, and, we think, consciously drove into a telephone pole. She tried to blame people at the barbecue to police, but they didn't play her games and she was charged with DUI. She destroyed her car and wound up in a bunch of legal trouble. After that incident, Bella got mental help and things got better for a while. But a leopard doesn't change its spots, and she's never really stopped her crap. I've wanted to say something to my brother, but my wife has begged me to stay neutral. Thing is, my brother is 6 years younger than me and not biologically my brother. He was adopted when he was 3. As a result, he takes my advice to heart, and if I say something, he'll do it. My mother has asked me not to intercede because I have influence over him. My logic is, if both me and his wife have influence, why can't I just get them apart? I can break them up and save him a lifetime of crap. I'll give him the guest room as long as he needs it, and I'll help him get his stuff out of the house. I know it's shady to use your hold over someone, but between the two of us, I'm the only one who is going to look out for his best interests. My wife thinks if I say anything, he will leave her, as does my mother, and that's my aim. He's 25 and saddled with an anchor instead of a partner. He won't survive this. Given people's opposition to my getting involved, is it fair to do this to him? Is it fair to try and split up a marriage, even if it's so hideously broken? My main concern is my brother, not their marriage. I feel like staying neutral betrays him, and he needs someone squarely on his side. Tell him you support him. You're there if he wants to talk. Give your opinion one time, then leave it alone. If you push for a divorce, he might feel pressure, and then if sister-in-law apologizes or has a tear fest, he might fall for the BS again just to prove you wrong. If he decides on his own, she loses that power. He's a grown-up. You might consider him your little brother, but he can make his own decisions. Why does your wife want you to stay neutral in a clearly non-neutral situation? Why does Bella deserve fairness when she treats your brother very unfairly, not upholding her part of the vows? Her driving drunk is very unfair to the sober people she could have killed, etc. Why does it matter how your brother comes to his decision, whether it is with or without counsel, if it's the right decision? It kind of reminds me how people demand civility towards very uncivil people. Fairness is only owed when each party starts on equal footing. Bella is not owed fairness because she has dug herself a nice hole of crappy behavior. Being fair to Bella would be a non-vindictive divorce settlement, and thanking her lucky stars she didn't kill anyone and isn't facing manslaughter charges. I was going to come here to comment, you can't make anyone do anything. All you can do is give them perspective and help them identify their options, based on the title. But I think your mom and your wife are weirdly a big issue here. I don't get why they think you should stay silent. Did they ever think maybe your brother wants advice from his older brother? He would probably feel abandoned by you if you just said nothing. Do they think you're going to make him do something he doesn't want to do? What the duck? My 25 female, sister, 17 female, is dating a grandfather, 50 male, and no one seems to care. I feel like I'm losing my mind over this and need to see if I'm the only one who has got this all wrong. We were a totally normal family. My parents have been together for decades and had me just after getting married, and my little sister came along a few years later. We had normal childhoods, normal schooling, and normal friends. I went off to university when my sister was around 10, but stayed close to her and was that stereotypical older sister who she came to when she got her first period and stuff like that. Around this time last year, she started chatting about this guy that she had a crush on. The way that she was talking, I assumed that it was a guy at school. Example, she talked about him doing things like getting a drink for her at lunch. I thought that it was cute and didn't really think too much more of it. A few months later, they were dating. Apparently, they were texting and Zooming all the time. I don't live at home, so heard this from her and my parents. And he was always sending her gifts to make her smile during lockdown. I assumed that the kid maybe had a paper route or something, since most 16-year-old boys don't have the money to constantly buy presents. So I inquired with her. She said that he worked, but wouldn't say anything more. I thought it was a cagey reply, but again, didn't think a lot more of it. I finally found out the truth by accident. Between the second and third lockdowns in my country, I was able to go round to my parents' house for the first time in a while. When I got there, there was a car in the drive that I didn't recognize. I went in the house, and there was my sister and this grown man sitting and watching TV. My sister apparently hadn't known that I was coming over, so when I walked into the room, she turned as white as a sheet. I awkwardly said hello. At this point, I assumed that the guy was, well, anyone but the boyfriend I'd heard so much about for months, and asked for the man's name. When he said it, and it was the same name as the boy, everything made sense. My sister had refused to show me any pictures of him and them together. My parents had said that she always left the room to talk to him, but put that down as awkward teenageness. I knew shouting and screaming wouldn't do anything, so I said that everyone was going to be having a talk, and no one would be leaving until it was done. My parents weren't in yet, so I waited at the kitchen table for them to come back, as I assumed they also didn't know that the boyfriend was a grown man. When they got back, however, it was as if there wasn't an adult man sitting in their sofa holding their teenage daughter's hand. They greeted them normally, and then said to me that I was probably a bit surprised, but that the boyfriend was a lovely man, and he loved my sister as much as she loved him, and promised that he wouldn't hurt her. I asked when they found out, and they said that it was about a month into them dating. They too immediately panicked, and asked all the questions that had been running through my mind from the second I saw him. They'd apparently first met when she was out with her friends, and then they'd go out for lunch together. I'd forgotten that my sister's school let them go off campus for lunch, and it naturally became a relationship. He has a full-time job and his own house in a nice part of town. I asked about his family, and the room tensed up. My dad finally said that the boyfriend was in the process of a divorce. I asked how long that had been the case, and again, the atmosphere shifted. I finally got out of them that the man had been with his wife, married for 20 years, and she had been served with the divorce papers 2 months ago. We can all do the math here. The guy was still fully married when he started dating my sister. It was at this point that I realized that my parents must have been aware of his marriage, as my sister had been dating the guy for around 9 months by this point. I asked about children. He has 3. 2 are in their early 20s, and 1 is 18. His eldest daughter also apparently had a 6-month-old son, so he's a grandfather. All of them, up until 2 months ago, had lived in the nice house, but had been forced to leave because of the divorce. I frankly couldn't take much more of hearing about it and left. What I did next, I still don't know if it was right or not. Fueled by emotion and impulse, I called my closest friend, who just so happens to work for social services in our town. About 30 seconds into me cry-screaming about the situation, she stopped and warned me that she'd have to get involved professionally if I said anything more. I told her to do it. The next day, I made a formal report to one of her colleagues. My friend couldn't be involved due to her relationship with me, that I believed that my sister was being groomed. They promised they'd look into it. I honestly thought that it would maybe be a week or 2 and he'd be gone, hopefully in the process of being charged with some vile crime, and I'd have saved my sister. Well, that didn't happen. My sister, parents, and the boyfriend were each interviewed about the relationship. I trust that my parents told the truth, or what they believed was the truth. However, I know without a doubt that my sister and that man lied on one big subject. In the final report, made available to my parents, who shared it with me, the topic of S activity came up. Both my sister and the boyfriend denied ever doing anything more than kissing. The age of consent is 16 in my country, but if grooming is feared, action can be taken if the victim is deemed as being vulnerable or unable to consent through deception. Anyway, during the interview, my sister revealed that she uses the pill, but only to regulate her periods. This is a lie. No less than a month before this all went down, my sister was reminding me that she must have been touched by a star at some point, since she has the lightest periods ever and barely any cramps. No doctor in the land would prescribe her with the pill for her period, unless she lied to them, or she is using it as a contraceptive. It makes me a bit sick to think about. Ultimately, the report decided that there was no evidence that my sister had been groomed, and just reminded them to refrain from things like sharing indecent images, illegal for under 18s, regardless of consent. I've been writing this forever, so I'll be brief about where the situation is now. My sister moved in with the boyfriend at Christmas. My parents still support the relationship for reasons such as he's an honorable man and we met at 17 and it didn't do us any harm. The majority of my friends, excluding the one who works in social services, who was appalled when I told her the report findings, since it seemed like corners had been cut after no one overtly admitted to any crimes being committed, don't see the situation as being anything but experience for my sister. Some say that I'm probably making her feel bad and shaming her for being into an older guy, while others think that I might be jealous because she's with someone and I'm single. So I bring this to you, the internet stranger who has spent too long already reading this. What can I be doing to help protect my sister? Can I do anything to make her realize that this isn't what love is? How do I help pick up the pieces when it all goes wrong? Edit. I'll answer a few questions that have been asked more than once. My parents did not know the guy beforehand, let alone help facilitate their relationship. The boyfriend was the one who instigated the divorce. I realized that wasn't clear in my post. The ex-wife and his children know about my sister, but all have cut contact with their ex-husband, father. Part of me thinks that they view my sister as a victim more than a mistress or affair partner, so don't intend on antagonizing her. I can't find any of them online. I don't know if profiles have been deleted or they go by different names to the ones I have, and can't get in touch any other way. I only learned the information about the assumed S activity after the case was closed, and it can't be reopened now that my sister has turned 17. Yes, the system sucks. As I thought I made it clear in the post, this is not at all something culturally or socially done at all in my family. We are all white Western Europeans. Okay, I'm going to speculate a little. This 50-year-old man found and groomed a 17-year-old, got caught and divorced by his wife, and is shacking up with your sister as part of his midlife crisis. I think you're absolutely right to be concerned. What is wrong with your parents? This is absolutely not normal. They just moved in together and your parents are still convinced that they are not sleeping together? I'm honestly not sure what you should do. You did the right thing by trying the legal way, but clearly that system is flawed. You need to get your sister away from this man and have a real conversation with her. Would she think it's normal for your father to be having an affair with one of her friends? Because that's exactly what this is like. Even if their relationship is legal, she needs to see that there is something very wrong with that man to be attracted to a girl that is 17 years old. Aside from the fact that she is very clearly the rebound. Say whatever you have to say. Shame her as much as you need to. Just get her out of this situation. If possible, reach out to one of her close friends and express your concerns, and do an intervention type deal. Unfortunately for you, this is the case wherein you can't really do anything but warn her and watch her, if in case she does crash and burn, and just support her. She's still in the honeymoon phase and still thinks that their love is enough to overcome anything. So good luck in getting her to see all the red flags. Your parents are a-holes though for still thinking he's a good man, and you have a crappy set of friends.